Hello all, and welcome to the Paul Chandler Show. I'm your host, Paul Chandler. Today we're going to be looking at vaccinations and how to do the proper coding for it. So vaccinations are quite common. Besides the influenza, hepatitis, there's several different vaccinations that everyone gets all throughout the year. However, in the procedure coding book, the vaccines codes themselves are more self-explanatory, but the administration codes are not. There's several items that are not included in the code descriptions. So in a few moments, I'm going to be doing an awesome grid on the board that'll help fill in the gaps with those vaccine administration codes. When coding the vaccinations, we'll always have at least one administration code and then a code for the vaccine itself. Now, looking at the parent codes for the vaccinations, we have, for the administration side of it, we have 3 parent codes and 3 kit codes. But looking at the different documentation requirements. So for example, I use the phrase, this, comma, this, comma, this. So this represents each of the documentation requirements. That if one of those items or one of the this is off, you have to choose a different code. With the administration codes for vaccinations, each administration code has 4 different variables. But we'll see in a few moments, though, how the first parent code set lists all 4 variables, but the second and third do not. So we have to fill in some gaps there. So what I'm going to be doing is on the board here, making a grid. And if you like, you can copy this grid into your coding manual. And we're going to be looking at the documentation requirements for the administration side of the codes. And then underneath, we're going to do an example of how to code with the administration code and the vaccine itself. So on the first column, we have the code 90460 and the kit code 90461. Then the second set, 90471 and 90472. And then finally, 90473 and 90474. So looking at the different variables that we have. So for example, the description for 90460, dealing with the parent code for the first set. Administration of the vaccine itself or immunization through 18 years of age. So that's the first variable that we have, 0 through 18. And in vaccination codes on the administration side, 18 is included in this group. So we don't go to the next section until once the patient turns 19. So the patient is 0 through 18, and then any route of administration, that's the second variable. How does the vaccine get in the patient? Because we have 3 different ways how a vaccine can get in. They can have a shot through the skin, no matter if it's intradermal, like just ending in the skin, or for example, intramuscular, going deep farther down into the muscle itself. Doesn't matter, just group all the injections together. Patient can have a squirt through the back of the nose or a squirt through the back of the mouth. So 90460 and 61, any route of administration with counseling. And counseling on vaccination, that is not you laying down on a brown leather couch in your psychiatrist's office, just letting it all go and see how much you don't like your mother-in-law. That's not this type of counseling. Counseling on vaccination administration means that the provider is essentially explaining to the patient why they're having this vaccine and any possible side effects. And the patient's able to ask questions back to the provider. So it's not simply just like old school when I was a kid. Here's a pamphlet, go read this. Or nowadays in the EMR, the electronic medical record, they'll just click print and here's a piece of paper, go read this. It's a 2-way communication. Now, as far as the documentation requirements, all they have to say is, as far as the provider, I counseled Paul on hepatitis A and hepatitis B vaccine, period, and that's it. You do not need to have a script-by-script dialogue of who said what. And then the last variable is per component. So as you see, we have the first set, all 4 requirements for the documentation, but the second and third, you're only going to be doing 2 out of the 4. So then we have to go in and fill in the gaps. So the second set, 904, 71, and 72, all that we have in the documentation for the code description is the route. We have just injection, and that's it. And instead of per component, it's per vaccine. Nothing about the age of a patient, nothing about counseling on the patient. So then filling in the gaps, we have two possible variabilities with simple, just I'll put a black line down the side, and then the two different options. So if the patient is 0 through 18, as far as the age, without counseling, or if the patient is 19 and above, then it's with or without. Meaning counseling does not matter once the patient turns 19 and above, because in theory, we should be able to go online and do the research ourselves and not end up, for example, on WebMD because you're getting a flu vaccine, for example, maybe it's the fall time for a flu shot, and you're getting a flu immunization, a flu shot, because you clicked on WebMD, you think you have a brain tumor. So be careful where you go from. And also, for example, like bobsmedicalblog.com, not a good one to do also. So do make sure you're getting it from a reputable source. So for the second set, all that we have as far as the documentation was injection and per vaccine, and we had to fill in the gaps. So we have the two different variances on the age of the patient, 0 through 18 without counseling, or 19 and above with or without counseling, it doesn't matter. And then on the last set, 904, 73, and 74, it's almost carbon copied, same thing as the second set. So I'm already put my two little differences there. The difference is 904, 73, and 74. Instead of having an injection, the patient is either getting a squirt through the back of their mouth or squirt up their nose. So I'm just going to simply put nose or mouth, doesn't matter which one. And it's still per vaccine. And I'll explain in a moment what the difference is between the component and vaccine, because they're not the same thing. So still vaccine on the third set. And notice how what I'm calling the third set, 904, 73, 74, no mention of age, no mention of counseling. So we simply just need to take the second set documentation regarding the age of the counseling and copy it over to the third set. So nose or through the mouth, it's still per vaccine. 0 through 18 is without counseling. Patient is 19 and above. Counseling does not matter. So then looking at the documentation, we have everything all filled in the gaps here. So the major differences between the this, comma, this, comma, this, comma, this variables, we have to know the age of the patient, was counseling performed or not, what's the route, how is the vaccine getting in the patient, and then is it by per component or per vaccine. Now, to do an example of how we code it per component or per vaccine, what the differences are. So let's say, for example, let's code a Hep A and Hep B vaccine. Hepatitis A, hepatitis B. So for example, if you look at the CPT code 90636, that is a Hep A and Hep B vaccine. So I'm going to do the first example of coding it per component, so the patient 0 through 18 years of age. And then I'm going to do the exact same vaccine, but let's say if I'm older than 19, I'll leave it at that. We'll do it how it's per vaccine. So 90636, that has two components, Hep A and Hep B. So think of it as one dry erase marker, for example, that let's say this is one vial that the patient is going to get injected into their skin. That oftentimes, depending on what the vaccines are, you can have, for example, Hep A and Hep B, still both two different components, two different vaccinations going inside the vial, and either they mix together and they still do what they need to do, or they stay separate. So 90636 has two different components, one for Hep A and one for Hep B. So because it's two components, I would code the vaccine code 90636 and the appropriate administration codes 90460, comma 90461. So that is not a one-to-one ratio. And what I mean by that is, looking at the variances, think of 90636 as Hep A and Hep B. 90460 is for administering hepatitis A, and 90461 is for hepatitis B. The doctor is still just injecting the patient once, but they're counseling on two different things. And let's say I will not tell you what year it has been since I was 18 in the first set, but let's just say I'm 19 and above. So coding it by vaccine, then it's a one-to-one ratio. I have one vaccine code, 90636, so then I need one vaccination code. 90636 says it's an injection, so then I have one vaccine code for one administration code. So this is one thing you have to remember, that the vaccine codes themselves get broken down one administration code per component, where coding by vaccine, it's a one-to-one ratio. So this is the vaccine for hepatitis A, hepatitis B, and this is the one injection that the doctor is giving the patient for Hep A and Hep B. I do thank you for watching this educational moment on coding vaccination and the documentation requirements, and have an awesome rest of the day. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's so easy. It's right there. A little button. Just push it. Subscribe. I got all night. Nothing else to do. Just subscribe.